afternoon, Biafrans all over the world. I want to say thank you for being with us today. Today we'll be having an exclusive interview, and this interview is going to give you a perspective and even a better perspective of the workings of IPOB. We are here in Malaga. Yes, so Mazi, you're welcome. It's my pleasure to have you once again. The first question I want to put across is I would like you to really give us people the introduction, which is the normal culture, to introduce yourself, because a lot of people will be doubting, how are you sure this is not AI? So I would have loved that you introduce yourself to our people, even though I've done that initially, but it would be nice that you do the introduction of yourself to Biafra people on the body.
Well, Mazi Chian, thank you so much. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night to all of you great and wonderful Biafran people over the world, depending on your time zone. My name is Mazi Chian Edoziem. I come from Idehoma. Idehoma is in the province of Biafra land. It is by the mercy and grace of Chukwu that I serve the indigenous people of Biafra in the Directorate of State, as the head of Directorate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The first question I want to ask you is, from the moment Mazi Nnamdi was adopted, because very, very important as kids, when our father is not around, we automatically become the father of the house. How has it been for you as an experience in the absence of Mazi Chian Kanu managing IPU? What experience have you gathered in his absence, and what are the lessons?
This is a very interesting and very nice question. The abduction, the kidnap, and the extraordinary rendition of our leader Mazi Chian from Kenya in 2021, as you all know, a shock to the African families worldwide, and a shock to the leadership as and it had been very false. The initial shock that we received, somehow we know that in Igbo will say that now, of course, we are prepared for that, eventuality for that occasion or situation. But when we saw it upon our lap, we understood that this is the call action, the call of service to our the initial period was actually because everything was thrown at this very leadership. Either distribute us completely or ensure that the structures of our children are destroyed. But I want to thank Biafrans all over the world for their support thus far. I want to really appreciate how they stood by the leadership. And above all, I want to thank our ancestors, the gods of our lives, because without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. We have learned a lot in the process during the time that we have been the saddle of affairs of the Biafra past. We have learned as we went ahead. Challenges that we made on our path, which glory of people, we overcame most of the challenges. And as we overcome them, it helps us to strategize on the way forward. And some of the strategies that we deliberately, consciously adopted, it's probably one of the reasons, if I may say, that you do not see me often coming out and speaking to our people. But it's all for the good, to struggle for freedom.
Yeah. So, Mazi, you talked about the support of Biafrans. To what extent have Biafrans supported you in the time where we had controversies and issues in the absence of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, where we have sort of infiltration and divided attention? How has that support for Biafrans been of source of encouragement to you and your and the leadership generally?
The support, what made it exceptional was the genuineness of that support. It may not have been from the mass, but the little number of people, if I would use the word, those we refer to, or even themselves we refer to as hardcore people, when they made their own investigation, we know that there are people who even ask questions in our land. They went to do what we normally do when something happens. They ask questions. These people had their hands clean in the allegations of the kidnap of our leader. They found out that the leadership had nothing. They had no idea what happened. They had nothing to do with it. They now came back and began, positively encourage us to continue to hold forth for our leaders, to hold forth for the objectives of our freedom. And when we saw that and the genuineness, like I said, it gave us, the leadership, great encouragement. And because of that, we took a decision that we must continue on this path that we have taken and to ensure that the fire that was given in our hands or that was left unwillingly in our hands does not get extinguished along the path. Therefore, that support, in fact, was very key to us as leadership. Yes.
Beautiful. There was something you mentioned, because I told you, like, in the course of this discussion, a lot of other issues are going to be raised. And there was something you mentioned about this accusation of the leadership being involved in the kidnap of Mazi. But we've seen people even using that as a sort of blackmail against the leadership, that the leadership sold Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But we've never seen the leadership in an affirmative statement, coming out to distance themselves. Was it done on purpose for Biafrans to do their findings on their own?
Well, yes and no. There have been some affirmative response actually from myself. That was exactly probably 6 months or thereabout that the rest of was kidnapped. It wasn't a meeting of the women.
Absolutely, I remember. I can now remember that. I can remember. Yes.
Some questions were thrown at us. Of course, we didn't come out in the open, but I mean that time I made it clear we had no knowledge of what happened. But from the information that came to us, the only information that we got then was through those other siblings. Yeah, you know what they told us. Far be it from us that we will even contemplate the crime of getting involved in the kidnap of our leaders. That is out of the question. That is not why we joined this race. So, in an affirmative way, if I use that word once again, those accusations were what try to demoralize the leadership at the beginning. But like I said, a lot of people who made their own investigations and found out that they should put their hands on clean. When they came back with their support, that encouragement, that support, but involved to continue to do well, because we know truth, you can bury it for how long, one day it must sprout and germinate and bear fruit. So I'm very, very happy that even those who are denying, they don't want to accept the truth, many understood that these men, the leadership, have nothing, and we could never have had anything to do with the rendition of
Quite interesting. We've seen series of events as well from the moment, because we always make reference to Mazi Kanu's kidnap and extraordinary rendition, considering the fact that a lot of events have taken place in the course of this time, and events that have taken place to some extent and to a very large extent are events that would have humbled the movement. But we saw how you have shown character to a very large extent in leadership, covering the space, even though we knew that Mazi Kanu left with very, very big shoe, if I may ask, to occupy. But in your own mild, simple leadership style, you have been able to kind of bring things down a little bit and have taken a different approach to leadership. Less noise and working silently. What is the reason for this kind of a leadership approach?
Well, first of all, the leadership not have done much. I'm still going to be very particular about this. We wouldn't have done much if the people went behind. We took a stop. After 1 year, we took a stop on the ground to our continental reps, about the families around the world. We had some deliberate conversations with some of them, country by country. We spoke to them and we wanted to find out exactly those who are in truth and in honesty in this very struggle, those who have come here for the purpose for which we have been gathered, which is the liberation. And we found out that there are men and women, men and women who are honest, who are they have the integrity of leading this very movement. We agreed to be doing communication from the structure top down, and information go down to them. Sometimes you will see certain members of the DOS come on air. These are deliberate. These people who come on air are asked to go on air at appropriate times. National coordinators, especially from Europe, they always have time when they will come on air and talk. These are also deliberate. And because we need to make sure that the structure is projected, the structure, the institution, which is our strength, is protected, and things are done the way they should have to be done. You give the direction from the top, trickle down to the very bottom, and fall. Then the very leaders, So yes. Personally, I'm not a very social media person. That is one. But secondly, I chose a different strategy because we need to let our work speak for us. We need to make sure we don't need to convince our people to do or follow what we are doing. We need them to see our work, and then that will be the motivation for them, because what you tell somebody, it will be different from what he sees with his own eye and self. Oh, these people are actually doing what they are that they say they have to do. What the fundamental objective of the movement. So we chose that approach to walk the background and let our work. And I will tell you, thus far, it has helped us quite a lot. There is one aspect to it. And the other aspect to this strategy is also, I can tell you without going into detail, that we have friends. And some of these are friends, they give us also, in our diplomatic engagement, we understand how things function in the diplomatic area. When you deal with certain nations and countries, things are in the mold until the right time for it to be made. And we learn that, and we are working in that direction.
That's quite interesting. Talking about the diplomacy and the diplomatic angle of the movement, we've seen you move, especially within Europe and so many countries, establishing offices. And many people will be wondering, what is the reason for these moves? And I remember that in your broadcast in early, I think that was 1st of January 2025, there is a broadcast you made, very significant, where you talked about working on the internal structure of IPOB. And these offices were established now. They're part of the broadcast you made in terms of working on the internal structures of IPOB. I don't know if you remember that phrase, but I kept that phrase very close to heart, because for me, I understand what it means to work on the internal structure of an organization. But the question is, the offices you are establishing, what are the purpose of these offices? Biafrans would like to know, and also our friends of Biafra, and including maybe Nigeria itself would like to know why you are moving from country to country, establishing offices.
Right. Thank you, Mazi. Oyen used to say, in my own paraphrase, there is time for everything. Timing is very key to what we do. What we have been doing for the past 4 years, we time the time when we will take certain action. The internal structure of IPOB is, it is very key to projection international stage of very movement. We live in Western world, many of us, and we know how structures function, how institutions are key to the running of states and other national interests and issues. And IPOB is a movement of millions of people strewn across the economy of the world, from the east to the south. There's nowhere you go you will not see us. I've made some trips, same economic trip to certain areas that are very, for now, it's confidential, but which are very, very positive. And yes, the offices we are setting up, more are coming, by the way. This is knowledge. More are coming because these are going to be the points of contact for any nation or any individual or friends of Biafra, and those men and women of whom will have the desire for the freedom of our people, those who have the interest in that. They will not need, if they are very far from Germany, they will not need to go to Germany for contact. Sometimes language is also an issue. A Spanish person may not speak English, may not speak German, but they can speak Spanish. And they now know, these people, I want to come to them, I can even speak to their representatives in this place, in the same language that your eyes sleep. And that will make your communication much easier and much fluent. Whatever communication that will pass through our representatives here will definitely get to the leadership. That is, we have made that that allowment, or if I would say that allowance for information to get back to us. You know, we had issues when we had one office in Germany, and of course, a lot of people have said something about this. There is no way a movement such as ours can have an office and the head of the directorate. It does not matter who the person is. It must not be me. I wasn't the first head of directorate, of course. But the head of directorate will not know that the letter he wrote to certain countries has been or have been responded to without me knowing about it. It doesn't make sense. So that is actually one of the reasons where we said, okay, we're going to decentralize these offices so that we will now use Germany as a collation center for every organization. So yes, it is part of the strengthening of our internal structure, as well as part of making it easier for friends around the world to be able to reach us easily and quickly.
That's nice. That's nice. So now Biafrans can understand that the essence of the offices being set up is for the interest of Biafran people and to serve the purpose of the agitation, and also to project Biafra more to the world, and also be able to give the resident countries where Biafrans are the possibility to have that communication with directly with the Biafran people. Now, I will come to a very, very interesting question, because I remember there was a time the Nigerian military declared you wanted. When that news came, it was devastating for a lot of Biafrans. How did your family receive that news, and what was your reaction?
My reaction actually was concern. In the sense that it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me, not at all, because I know what we have chosen to do. It is said as well that the freedom fighter is either in jail, in exile, or 6 feet down. And when the people against whom you are fighting for your freedom declare you wanted, or even a terrorist or whatever, you should know that it is part of their agenda or strategy to instill fear among the mass, and also to see if they can power you into abandoning your objective or abandoning. I was not bothered. My family, they knew me, and wonderfully, the support has been 100%, because they know what I'm doing, they know who I am, and they know I'm not a terrorist, and they know that I'm fighting. Even before I became head of directorate of IPOB, I try to my little way I can to make sure that justice and equity is carried out to those who desire it. So they were not bothered because they know. And the matter, why actually, maybe a little, but at the end of the day, from articles that came from our legal counsel and representative, they decided to take up the matter for obvious reasons, not because of me, but because of the people who are part of this very issue, because of other members of the legislature, because we know what the Nigerian government wants to achieve. The belief we have Nnamdi Kanu incarcerated is in our care. Let us focus on those who are in the diaspora, who are the leadership. If we are able to thank them and indict them in any manner, it will help us, or it will help them to clamp down on the leadership in the diaspora. So the advice, legal advice, is that we need to pursue that matter so that it will clear the way, and for those who may be afraid in any way, may be afraid of anything happening to them, that so yes, we follow the legally in their own court, and as spoken the army, the rest is
Yes, we know you had victory in court, and the court made their judgment in your favor. How does that court judgment how does it affect you? Does it boost your confidence? Does that court judgment that you had in your favor giving you some level of peace?
Mazi, I'm going to be very honest. If I had peace, even when they declared me, I had no issue. And I still have the peace that I mean, as much as I can have peace with all the running of the IPOB that is on the shoulder of the leadership, I have my peace, and not anything that is done or that they did. But what I took from that judgment is that it emboldened, it strengthened the people base. It made them to understand. It also helped the leadership, those other members of the leadership, to understand that, okay, if the head of directorate has won the Zoom in the court, it means that the allegations of being wanted, nobody should be afraid of that, because the court has decided he has something, there's no so where I got the peace is that the people behind us also now have freedom to pursue our cause of friendship.
Quite interesting. So, even at the time you were declared wanted by the Nigerian military, you never saw it as a big deal.
No.
Is that what you're trying to do?
It wasn't a big deal to me. Like I said, it wasn't even me who decided to take the matter. It was the advice, some members of the leadership. They said, we need to do this, but first of all, let's hear from our legal representative. And he said, yeah, okay, we should pursue that manual. Left alone, I would have left it where it is. Because whether I understand at that time I understood their position, because even if nothing happens to me, if we let that stick, it will be intense and it will be a discouragement to other members, other family members. Okay, let's pursue whichever way we take it to the take it to completion, and we don't blow. We don't blow. That's why we never saw us coming out in one. But we have that aside. For me, it was a distraction at that time. They wanted to see how they can take our attention to the job before us, and thankfully that is beside us, and we are.
Beautiful. I would like to have a lay perspective about how you describe yourself as a person. I would also like Biafrans to have the perspective of how you see yourself as a person.
And I am servant of the Biafran people. The position I hold today is what I would say was not asked. It's not valued or budgeted. It was not prepared. But I am somebody who is very knowledgeable, and somebody who the well-being, goodness of our people specifically is very dear to my heart. And it has been the motivation for all that I have done personally as an individual and all that I'm doing as part of the African leadership. I can't describe myself in any very other way than to say that I am a person who interested in the freedom of the Biafran people and who is interested in the well-being of Biafrans. That's who I am.
Mazi, do we say that at a time like this, with the challenges IPOB is facing, do we say that your kind of temperament was actually what the struggle needed to move things forward at a time like this? I don't know how, if you understand the question. Do you say that your kind of temperament is the right temperament that suits the moment for Biafra continuous movement, considering where we are coming from and the challenges we passed and what is still ahead of us?
Yes, I would say this way. My personality and the strategy that I have adopted has helped, but it is not the deciding factor. Why do I say this? The Biafran project will move forward without Mazi Edoziem being there. If I hadn't been there, someone else would have been there. Because our ancestors, they have ordained that we must be free. If I, God forbid, I mess up tomorrow, it doesn't stop the Biafran agitation and our freedom from materializing and coming to pass. So that the mantle fell upon me was the way they have ordained it at that point. And if, as it pleases them, I'm doing it according as we should do it, then I thank them for the wisdom. But I don't attribute it personally to anything out of my power. Style. Things as the gods have ordained. We had a difficult time. It may be also that somebody who is not quiet like me wasn't there. Somebody who may be totally different from me will still be there and push the struggle forward. So I think, and we have all of it in the directorate of state. We have those who are very, very hot as them, and we have those who also calm. And the mixture of that, positive, and if you want to use it that way, the mixture of that is bringing wonderful synergy.
How do you see the future of IPOB? How do you see, in your perspective? You've been in the leadership for a very long time now. You faced challenges at the topest level, where you were left, in my own opinion, vulnerable to handle issues, like you said earlier, unexpectedly, like events played out. I believe you've gone through a lot, you've had a series of experiences. So I believe you're in a position to give a judgment and to tell me or tell the world how you see IPOB in the future. What prospect do you think IPOB have in Biafra restoration?
Great prospect. Great prospect. I have to repeat that more. And the leadership, as I see the men and the women who are And when I talk about the leadership, I do not restrict myself to the Directorate of State. I include those who are among our continental reps to national coordinators, to zonal coordinators and unit coordinators, because the responsibility of leadership is on all of us, individually and collectively. And I can tell you for the past 4 years, and those who were not sure, who were not certain what purpose they have come to play in our struggle, they have weeded themselves out, because the purity, the moral foundation, the integrity of being a leader, they could not maintain that purity. So they weeded, nobody weeded them out, they weeded themselves out. Now, those that remain understand what is at stake. They know that there is no way they can fall. They know that there is no way they can retreat. They know that there's no way we can surrender our freedom for any mundane if I now say aggrandizement, because when you understand what our people go through in Biafra, will be convinced that if you want to have the opportunity that we now have to make a change, to better their lives, to ensure that our land becomes free, mind and physically, one cannot do otherwise than to pursue that very objective. So I would say the prospect of leadership and the prospect of our struggle is very, very bright. And that is why I always, when I move around in these past months that I have visited many countries, I have our people to be prepared. They have to be prepared mind-wise, and they have to be prepared physically, because what is coming, we're not prepared. Will be catastrophic. And I know, by the grace of Biafra, the land of Biafra will not allow us to fail. And therefore, I am giving this message to those who are not anymore, that it is not about Mazi Chian. It is not only about those we call the leadership of IPOB. It is about us. And there are people, very few there may be, who must do what needs to be done to save race from extinction. We are ready to do that.
So, Mazi, are you guaranteeing that as long as you are in IPOB leadership, you're going to do everything within your power to see Biafra restored, as long as you continue to hold your position and you continue to mobilize Biafra towards this cause? Is it a guarantee? We know that man is not God, but it's your own power as a human being.
What I can tell you, what I can tell the Biafrans today sitting here is that as long as the cause of land Biafra will become not in the time of but in the time of this very generation.
Mazi, it's my pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for granting us this wonderful talking with you and having this conversation with you. Thank you very much. Biafrans, I want to say thank you for the time you've given us. I want to say thank you very much for your patience. And we've been able to hear from the head of Directorate of State, Mazi Chian Edoziem, and I believe that he spoke from his heart. And Biafrans can understand. And I want to say thank you very much once again. My name is Patrick DK, coming to you under the auspices of Biafra Television Europe here in Malaga, Spain. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and God bless you all. It's my pleasure to have you. You're welcome to this wonderful interview. We're in Malaga, Spain for the opening of the licensing office. And for me, it's a pleasure to have you once again after our interview in ETV. That was sometime last year, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, last year. Before Christmas. Oh, no, that was December 20 something.
Okay, of 2024. Or,
yes.
2024. And that interview gave some kind of perspective to our people because it was a kind of direct communication. It gave our people the opportunity to understand you, to see the wife of the leader of IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi, from a different perspective. You know, we've had a series of interviews with international media like BBC and stuff, but the interview with BTV Europe is another ball game entirely. Because it gives us opportunity to speak directly to our people, to speak directly and also to the heart of issues. And because I believe that we understand ourselves as Biafrans, our communication with you might be different from the communication you have with other media outfits that are not within the Biafra agitation and experience. So for me, it's always a pleasure each time we catch you, we make sure we engage in discussions so that you know the character of our people. They always want to hear, they always want to get information, especially our people in the grassroots, people in Biafra land. Who do not have the privilege of meeting you or having access to much information. So every little information matters a lot. So for me, it's a pleasure to have you today. Yes, so Lolo, we've seen you traveling along with the entourage, the Directorate of State, opening licensing offices here and there. And it's interesting to see the kind of support you've given our leadership. The question is, despite all the controversies and all the issues that people think that when it comes to the issue of credibility on the part of the leadership, what made you continue to believe in this leadership of IPOB, despite the doubt that few individuals are having about leadership capacity? IPOB leadership capacity for this.
Thank you, my friend. It's also a pleasure to be here once again. I think this is the second time I'm seeing you.
Yes.
You saw us in Italy.
Yes, I think was it in Ferrara?
Yes,
Ferrara, yes. Yeah,
was it Ferrara from Bologna?
No, it was in Ferrara. Well, was it Ferrara when we went for?
No, where was Bologna?
Bologna is.
It was the airport we took.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. I've not very good. We've been here before, though. We've been to Malaga before, but I'm one who traveled and I don't remember where.
Because you go to so many places.
So I don't remember. So yeah, well, we've been here before. I think 2019 or so.
Okay.
Mapea, the beach. Is it beach?
Okay.
Mapea. Thank you, Mazi. It's an honor to have been asked this question. First of all, I always make this statement. If you have something, if you have created something, you know what it's taking to create that thing, or to give it something. And in your absence, you would want that very thing to protect it, to safeguard it. So I am one who believes in safeguarding things. I would like to protect things. And now the leadership in the US. It's not just leadership, it's the people who are on top of the leadership ladder who are looking after the people. We don't even imagine that they kind of being the top head of these leaders. So how do you trust and supporting them is a sign of protecting one's legacy. Because sometimes, and this is thing I always say, there are things known and there are things unknown. But in between is just the door of perception. Because there are things you know you're certain that you know them. And there are things you know you don't know. And you don't know tomorrow. You don't know what tomorrow will be. You don't know the outcome of certain actions. But you're taking these actions anyway. So in between this gap is your ability to perceive what should and what shouldn't be. So the leadership was there. Mazi Nnamdi before he was kidnapped. Now, it takes an understanding of what the structure of IPV is, understanding of the people who we are, understanding of who our enemies are. When I say enemies, it doesn't mean that it's people who are against us. So if you have a problem, if you have an enemy, you have an opponent, and you don't understand your opponent, that person is foolish. So I understand what the battle is about. I understand what it is. I understand what it is we face as people, as Biafrans, not just people. But because I understand what we face as Biafrans, and I understand the capacity of our people to understand basic things, that they take things literally and it can ruin a lot of things. So I know that in the absence of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, he has raised that structure to be that way. Because in his absence, I think last week we used an example of the Irishman, the United Irishman Organization in 1798. Because the structure was cell-based, local cell-based, when the key leaders were taken, that was the end of, although it gave birth to Northern Ireland and the rest of 1920-something, but as at that time, what brought about the collapse of that organization was because of the leadership not centralized. And like I said, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a man of vast knowledge. He understands. I don't think there is a history that he's not in the knowledge of. So if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is taken and the leadership is broken, automatically Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has nowhere to go. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be protected. But as long as IPV is standing, that is the backbone of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be backbone. So if somebody is coming to decentralize the structure that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has put in place, that person may not directly be thinking or believe that they are against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They might be doing it out of their own selfish gain. But you know how short-sightedness that it is, how much short-sightedness you can find in greed. And I always say this, there's foolishness in greed, there is foolishness in hatred, there is foolishness in publicity. When someone is pernicious and impertinent and impetuous, they don't see far past their noses. So someone probably grabbing one thing or another, but do not understand the consequences of the action. But I can feel the consequences of his actions. Therefore, it is very, very pivotal that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu structure stands. as it is until it comes out. It is his to do as he pleases. But for now, it will remain as it is and as it should be. So that is why I give my support that, because that is legacy. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu coming up at a time, because when this leadership is decentralized, every other person, you can see these millions creating problems and trying to target the IPOB. So imagine God not being in control and packing all this together in our favor. Imagine what would have become of us as a people. So how people running off, stealing, kidnapping people, killing people and saying that they are or they're like innocent. They're not. So if we let this go out of hand, you see people creating different sects, creating factions all over the place, faffing around and causing mayhem, creating an inhibitor. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because you can hear some people saying he's the cause of all this, and he's not. But because they're all so short-sighted and can't see far past their nose, or past their noses, they can't analyze properly how all of these has been done, or have been done in the first place, and how it's done this far, and why. So that is why I give my support. My support is for the safety of our people and of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's his legacy. So it has to be protected, safeguarded until this ends.
So the basis for your support is as a result of your perceived essentiality for leadership.
Absolutely, because we need these leaders. You can run anywhere they want.
Despite the imperfections of...
Nobody is perfect. Nobody's perfect. They have never been at the forefront before. When Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is out, most times they are delegated to do things. They run IPOB, they do things, but they've never been at the forefront of a position like taking or facing challenges head on.
Yeah, because when I talk about imperfection, then on a daily basis you see people talking about what the directorate or state have not been able to do. In most cases, I don't know, but these are people's direct criticism.
Criticism is good.
Yes, so how do we now reconcile people's criticism and opinion to the reality of no matter how bad the leadership is, it is better you have a leadership than none?
Reconciliation is both sides of a coin, because criticism is the part of human life. Without criticism, we cannot improve. Criticism is a positive tool for self-improvement or continuous improvement. So, you know, like in the corporate world, you have like Kaizens, you used to set up all this Kaizen. So in Kaizen, you're looking at a structure that's not perfect. And that is why it's called continuous improvement. And in all of this, you have like a gap analysis. So it's also for the leadership to look at what these criticisms are about and do a gap analysis. It's okay. Criticism 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 criticisms. We have 10 points on the criticism board or chart, which is the most, on priority list. Was the number 1? You pick it. You probably can't get to number 10 by the end of the year, but you're looking at these criticisms to help you improve, to better yourself. Because without criticism, you may not even know how much you're doing or not, but at least you're doing something regardless. So when the criticism comes, you pick it up, you're analyzing it, you're finding the ones. Some of these criticisms are noise as well. And like I said in Kaizen, when you look at it, noise, so you have a structure, criticisms are like noise. So you pick the one that is value added. Can you add value to what you're doing? Yes, you take it on. And if it's adding value to what you're doing, Is it creating too much, taking too much time? How can you turn down the time? How can you cut it down a bit? How can you reduce the time taking to achieve that? You implement that. So some of the criticisms, you look at it and it's noise. It's crackers. So that is how to reconcile this, the perfection of the leadership. There is no leadership that is perfect. Even God, we call God and we say, why are you allowing this to happen? Oh, God didn't do this.
I also know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was also highly criticized while he was...
Absolutely. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still being criticized up until today. But that is what it's about. So he actually sits and he watches. He looks at the criticism and he thinks, I think this one makes sense. I think that one makes sense. But our people, rather than criticizing, I don't know, there's this, with the social media, people are off the grid. They jump off the grid and they just throw sort of tantrums and maybe create some certain kind of scene. But in their tantrums or whatever, it's also important that the leadership people one and two things and implement it. Yes, I believe that. But there is no perfection everywhere. At least I've grown to realize that there is no such thing as perfection. But growing up, I've always aimed for perfection. Perfection is what I dream. But being human and knowing that it is continuous improvement that we're on. So every day is a learning course. So we just keep learning, keep picking up. Or what did we do? And that's also for the gap analysis. So end of year, what did we do? What actually do we want to achieve? And end of year, okay, we achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always use this as an analogy, a picture that when you make soup, when we cook soup every day, that's gap analysis. The things that we do when we're making soup is gap analysis. So when you put your oil, you put your salt.
The processes.
Yes, when you do that thing you do here to taste, that's gap analysis. You're trying to find out, because I want this soup to taste this way. Your mind already knows what taste you want from that food. So the things you're adding are the things you know that will create that taste. Now, when you do all of that and put on your tongue to taste, that process of doing this is gap analysis.
To test if it meets the standard and also the projection.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and also you probably want the soup to look greenish or something, and then you have too much oil. You go, oh, give me more vegetable, add more vegetable, and the whole thing sits together, the oil and so that's gap analysis. You're trying to meet the pictorial picture you have in your mind to look exactly. So that is what we do as a people. We're trying to get Biafra, but there are processes that we need to go through. There are steps that we're taking. It's not all perfect, but as we keep going, we keep gap analyzing. Where have we fallen short? What can we do to improve? That's continuous improvement. So we keep growing.
We've seen people make certain assertions that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have moved on. That he has left the leadership behind and that he has moved on. I want to, you are the Lolo, and I believe that you can read his mind even when you are not communicating. Is there a possibility that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have moved on without the leadership, contrary to the perception? Some perceptions out there.
Well, one thing you must understand is in gaps, and like I keep saying as well, there are things that are known. There are things that you would never know, or may not even know. But in between is a door of perception. So the people saying that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has moved on, I don't know where he's moved on to. I cannot answer that. because he's the creator of IPOB. And I'm certain that when he comes out, the men who he's left behind, who has stood in his stead to protect and safeguard the family of IPOB, would tell to him what they've done in his absence. And then from there, they'll move on. So I don't know where Mazi Kanu has moved to, where he's left leadership. Now, there's something you must understand, which is when I went through my spiritual awakening, I stopped seeing people as humans. I see people as energies. And when people begin to see energies rather than humans, they would understand things better. What is going on here is, I'll give you an example. My mom is late, so I'll use my mom. So, for example, my mom went to the market, so she's been away, and someone comes in, or maybe a member of the family hits me, and then I cry and I go around. When my mom comes back, I'll tell her what you've done to me. Now, it depends now on the mother when she returns from the market to listen from both sides of the father, listen to me as her daughter and listen to the other member of the family as an extended family member. Now, I'll give you an instance. I think when we went home last time, Nnamdi was upset about something, and he came and he said this cousin of his did something, and he said it so, he exaggerated it, and I'm like, why would he do that? The first thing, why would he do that? Go and call him for me. So he went and he called the boy, and the boy started to narrate what happened, what he said. So he was actually joking, but then there became this perception of what he said. Nnamdi was not having that sort of joke. So he took it as something very seriously. And I said to Nnamdi, that he didn't mean it that way. So this is what happened, and this is what, and that's what happened. So, and that's something I always do. So as a mother, if your child comes and complains to you, and you tie your wrapper and go to war, and sometimes you go for the wrong war as well. Sometimes, pardon me, I'm racing this fine. Yeah. I can see. So there's always a need. As humans, of course, if Nnamdi tells me something that someone has done, I would be upset. First instance, I would...
Natural feelings.
Natural feeling. How dare that person? And I could have some sort of anger or whatever, but then what determines how I move forward or how I handle it is my personal belief, my core beliefs, my core values of what makes me a person and how I want my child to be. So when I bring the person or drag him to the person who has offended him, but I want to know, I don't come there and start hitting the person. So whilst I'm trying to make him and I'm coming and I'm going, why did you do this?
So that brings us to your ability to balance your powers.
Absolutely. So why did you hate it? Why did you do this? And the person explains. So maybe from the explanation, if the person is wrong, I can then kick off. Yes? Or slow down. Or the two of them, I can fault the two of them. Or I can fault whoever it is. So that is natural. That's justice. That's being fair and just. And not being sentimental because he is my son. So moving forward is something that I cannot say because he hasn't made that known to me that he hasn't moved forward. Him being upset, I am aware of. But moving on, I am not aware of. And I'm saying this to Biafrans today that in my purity of heart, I said to him that it is important that when you come out, and sometimes what someone may have perceived as something that you like may not like. So it is the person's responsibility to account for what they've done, and then we can look at it because you are the man in the arena, you're the one going through, regardless, we do have our issues and problems. We can't go, we can't do this, we can't do that. But you are the one out there at the world heart. So when you return, you left your house. Yeah, because all the people that you left must come together to give an account. And that is why I'm not letting anybody destroy the structure, so that everyone would have their place to stand and speak for themselves.
That's interesting. That's interesting, Barbara. And I believe that that is quite understandable and balanced. The analogy you gave about handling disputes also tells a lot about our ability to balance our thinking, balance the thought, to be able to find a perfect resolution. Now, outside that, you might be creating even more chaos. So that brings me also to the issue of how you have continuously remained a kind of strong, trying to make sure that the legacy of Mazi Kanu is not jettisoned, because I know that to some extent you have received also criticism for standing in defending the structure that Mazi Kanu built. But I believe that it would have been a more serious disaster if you haven't taken a stand in the support of the structure. Because I believe and I know that you standing with IPOB leadership gives them a very strong, giving them that strong support, also kind of fuels them to do more, positively encourages them. And most of the time, even some reasonable Biafrans so used to use you as an example, as if the wife of Mazi Kanu can stand with leadership. Who am I not to? So, what makes you think and have made you also remain strong despite all the divides and all the criticism from certain points? I know you might not know about this criticism though, but I've seen people who criticize you for starting your leadership.
Oh, thank you, Mazi. I think I've heard, in fact, I've heard directly, but I won't mention the person's name. But I'll put it here today. If we take back the hands of time, and it becomes that cockroach or the most intelligent dog or gorilla is being made the head of Directorate of States by Mazi Kanu. That's what it would be. I've never met Mazi Chian Edoziem until last week in IPOB AGM.
Okay, in Germany?
In London.
Okay,
sorry,
London.
Luton. Sorry,
Okay,
Luton,
okay.
Luton, UK. That was the first time I met him. I've never met Mazi Chian. I've met Mazi Chian as well, and then Mazi Chian I met them in Italy.
Okay.
I think, yes. So that's the first time I met them in Italy. So I don't know these men. Don't even speak with them, except when you wanted to find out if Mazi Chian Edoziem had spoken to me. And who else am I thinking about? Mazi Chian, I've never met him before. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't deal, same thing, I don't deal with humans, I deal with their energies. And that is why I'm hardly moved. The DOS is how Mazi Kanu keeps it. And I can see that this is how the structure was help our people stand. A lot of people have lost their lives. We're not better than them. And there are some that nobody even knows that they exist after they have lost a family member. So this is far beyond sentiment. This is far beyond who you stand with. I don't stand with anybody. I don't stand with people. I stand with the truth. I stand on the truth and I go with the truth. And I work by it. So being criticized that I'm standing by the leadership, whoever is the leadership, I don't know them. As long as it's IPOB under the leadership of Mazi Chian, except he comes and he says no more DOS. And I say, there's no DOS, and I'll stand by it. That is my life. A lot of people don't know me. I'm not a proud person, but I can appear to be one, because when I stand on something, you can't change me as long as it's the right thing. And I see people for who they are before even they know who they are. Before people even know what they want to do, I've sensed them already. So I'm 10 steps ahead of them. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to do anything. But just by working with your energy, I know where to be. And I know what to say and what to do. And sometimes I don't speak at all. But somehow they hear me. Without me speaking, they just hear me. So I believe that their energy can sense my energy. And that is why I get all these attacks. And my energy is there. So I'm less bothered as long as I'm standing on the right thing. So where I get the strength is in the consciousness of knowing that when you operate on that natural level of consciousness, being aware of what is right from what is wrong. Mazi Kanu, had he been taken by maybe some other kind of issue, then that's what I will focus. But he was taken because of this. Mazi Kanu was taken for IPOB, Mazi Kanu was taken for the Biafran people, for what he stand, speaking for his people and moving for his people, so or working rather for his people. That's what he was taking. So he was taken from IPOB. Why do you need to destroy IPOB? The world is watching. And because I know the people watching, because I know the people watching what Mazi Chian has created, I know the people waiting for it to fail, and I know if it fails, what will happen.
The consequences.
And I know the people who are not actually waiting for it to fail, but they are waiting to understand, is it the same, another evil stuff? Where nepotism and, my brother or my very good friend, this is my very good friend, sort of, communications and dealings. There are some people watching to see, this IPOB, how is it going to end? Or how is it to run? So I am operating from that conscious level of what I can see, what I can sense. So my energy is to reach these eyes that are checking to see, oh, is it another Igbo meeting? Is it another Igbo behavioral thing where they do whatever they like, create factions and talk and just leave? Or is it something much more? Is this something much more deeper than what we can see? So that's what gives me strength. So I keep fighting, and it's as well knowing that once we go past this level of challenge, because this is another phase of challenge. When we go past this challenge, a new understanding of what IPOB stands for will be birthed. A new beginning of the perception of what IPOB is. So that is what gives me hope, knowing that there is streak of sunlight. See between all these great clouds that we are going through now. That in the end, there will be victory. Though that is a simple.
Thank you, Lolo. Thank you for that. We've talked a lot about the leadership and your stand when it comes to leadership. I want us to kind of debate again before we come to the end of the program. And recently we saw you making a presentation to Frederick Forsyth.
All right.
Yes. So,
his funeral. Yeah.
Yes, I read his book while I was in secondary school. I didn't even know that he was still living.
Oh, he was. He was. Yes, he was until, well, unfortunately, until the last time he took his last breath. But from the families and the friends who were all there, they all talked about how he kept on talking about Biafra. He never gave up, just talking about it and hoping that things will be better for us.
So, despite the fact that we have friends of Biafra who are not even Biafrans talking about Biafra, especially also here in Spain, we have some Catalonians who have taken it upon themselves to create monuments and create organizations in support of Biafra. There are still Biafrans who more recognize Biafra. Is it not a shame?
It is a shame. That's why I like this song that says, Biafra. Yeah, so if you were a Biafran and you don't know about it, then it's an abomination. On the 30th of May, there's another king's friend that we went to the Trafalgar Square with. He said, "Oh, I never knew there was a war, but I know about the Holocaust." So he knows about the Holocaust, the Jewish massacre, but he never knew that his people were massacred. He never knew about that. And it's a shame that even some people are aware of Biafra, but they don't want to talk about it, learn to do anything about it. But that's what makes it mad. Your ability to protect. I always talk about this protection. I always talk about preservation. I always talk about safeguarding, because that's what life is about. If you don't safeguard your life, if you don't protect your life, if you don't preserve, you lose it. You lose it. And so does it go around with other people who are around you, your family members. If you don't safeguard them, if you don't protect them, if you don't preserve them, then so people are busy running around, kidnapping, just kids, faffing around, picking up people for what purpose? And these people would pay millions to ransom rather than creating vigilantes in the villages, supporting them, even supporting PSN to a larger extent, and then creating these vigilantes in the village. Because when you create vigilantes, and if you're paying millions of naira for one ransom, you can pay the vigilantes 50,000 naira a month. Some of them don't work; they don't have anything doing. So if they're actually protecting their village, being paid 50,000. Do you know the amount of determination and what's the word for it? How they will be focused. They will be determined to protect their people. So at night they go and protect their people. In the morning they're still safeguarding their villages. The people abroad, those in diaspora, can pay them 50,000 naira a month. Maybe a few of them. All this nonsense will stop. So these people who are not into their farm, not okay, that's okay. But you shouldn't, in your ignorance or in your inability to accept who you are as a person, if you can't support those doing it, don't discourage them. Don't become a stumbling block for them. Just ignore them. That's That's what I think. I mean,
Before I round up, I would have loved to ask you the last question because we've seen the formation of a new political party in Nigeria, the ADC. Let's not forget also this ruling party now came as an alliance against the former party, which is the PDP, and today we have a new party. Do you think that ADC political party in Nigeria has any hope in revitalizing the situation or giving Nigerian the hope as a nation? Because today everybody is jumping on that a new political alliance have been built, a new political party have been built. Do you see this political alliance and the new political party as a political structure that can save Nigeria from the mess in the family? Sorry.
There's no party that can save Nigeria from the mess. I mean, if the best that Nigeria can ever get is a regional government. Yes, that is the best they can ever get. I mean, if there must be someone, the things can never be so rotten that it has to be thrown away. If it has to be, then something like that's us going away, that's us being, we need to be separating from Nigeria. But the best that can ever happen, the only thing that can salvage Nigeria, the only single step that will salvage Nigeria is regional government. That's all.
So personally, do you believe that the regional government can save Nigeria's situation?
Absolutely. That is what Aburi it was about. Yeah. The Aburi.
An agreement, yes.
Yes, the Aburi agreement was regional government. And if you recall, that is the
only one thing about roast beef, the wrap.
when Mazi Chian
Yeah, we don't have more
was
beef
released
for
in
today.
2017.
We have chicken.
Started hearing
It's okay?
restructuring.
Perfect. Thank you.
Restructuring. That was what was in the agenda, restructuring. But that abruptly just got crashed. So the only thing that can save Nigeria is the government, but this new party.
Except the new party have to create a regional system of government.
Absolutely, except they have to do that. But I don't see them salvaging Nigeria. It's just the same people. Who are these in the new ADC?
They recycle the
Absolutely.
old bottle in the new one.
You take a Coca-Cola, you remove the label, when you put it in the cup, and then you put it Pepsi.
And I've also kind of suggested that the 1940 amalgamation be revisited.
Because it's expired. Yeah, the amalgamation is, which is where the regional government should actually maybe happen, because the amalgamation is for 100 years. I don't know, 1,100 years. So, yeah, when we were all brought together, it was for 100 years.
Yeah.
So that's what I keep saying. Some certain people don't understand. Showering mentioned this. He did say that there was some sort of there is a document somewhere that says that Igbo man must not be a president of the country. So, and I hold on to that word, not just because Showore said it, but because it is the truth. Because it is the truth, because it is somewhere indeed, truly, certain people, which is Igbo people, are not allowed. But it seems this ADC does not understand that. So we shall see.
To understand. Okay. So, Lolo, I think we had a wonderful interview this evening. From here, in Malaga, Spain. And it is my pleasure to have you under the auspices of Biafra Television Europe. Biafrans all over the world. This is our Lolo here. I believe that we've had this brief conversation and she has been able to point out some of the things you need to know and her reason for the support for the leadership and why she's standing with the Directorate of State to be able to make sure that the legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu structure is preserved, and also to make sure that IPOB is well guided, believing that this is the only way Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's release can be secured, because an intact IPOB is the only way to guarantee Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's freedom. And Lolo, it's my pleasure to have you.
Same here.
And I want to say thank you for giving us this privilege and giving us the time. Thank you very much,
Thank you very much.
and God bless you.
And you too.
Biafrans all over the world, until I see you again, my name is Patrick DK, and I want to say have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much, and God bless you. End it. Yes, good afternoon.